Welcome to the 2022 BIPOC Perioperative Leaders to Know. My name is Carissa Brewster, and I am the staff writer for Whitman Partners. And today we have Jacqueline Jenkins, who is a manager of surgical services at Nemours Children's Hospital. Welcome, Jacqueline.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here.
Yes, I'm so
Oh.
happy to have you. So the first question is kind of what drew you to perioperative services? What got you into nursing?
So, to be totally honest, initially, what got me into nursing, I wanted to find a job after I finished school. And at the time, teaching and nursing were the two big professions. And I chose nursing. I just felt as though it was a better fit. And as I went through school, I had the opportunity in my senior year to spend a semester in the OR. Because when I did my clinicals in my junior and the first semester of my senior year, we weren't allowed to go to the OR, and we did an independent study the last semester, and I could pick or choose the site and the department, and I chose the OR because that was something that was foreign to me, and I fell in love with it. I fell in love. I knew at when I graduated from school that I wanted to be an OR nurse. They didn't have a lot of peri-op programs at the time. So and the one that I found was in Virginia. I lived in New Jersey and it was located in Virginia. And they required that I do 2 years of floor nursing before I was allowed to come into the OR. And I did 2 years to the day, and I packed my things up and I moved to Virginia, went through a peri-op program, and I never looked back. I have enjoyed myself, and I became an OR nurse in 1985 and and I love every minute of it.
That's awesome. Like, what do you love about the OR?
You know what? I feel a sense of completeness when I provide care to my patients. A lot of times when when I was on the floor, we may have had 5, 6, 7 patients, and I just felt like I couldn't do everything that I needed or wanted to do for my patients because there were so many things to do, and the patients were becoming more and more complex. But in the OR, you have one patient at a time. And even if the case is continuing, when I report off to the person who's relieving me, I know when I walk out of that room, I have done everything I possibly could for that patient, and it's a good feeling. It's a good feeling, and I love the team approach. We all have to work together as a team to provide care for this patient. The OR is constantly changing. When I started, we did open cases. So if we were going to remove your gallbladder, we were going to make an incision and remove your gallbladder. And now everything is laparoscopic. We do our laparoscopic procedures. So it was a world that was always changing. And I love the technical component of it. So it's everything I wanted.
Cool. Um, to the pandemic. How has COVID, in your opinion, impacted your approach to leading, if at all?
As a leader, it truly forced us to think outside the box. Because when COVID first hit, we drastically reduced the number of rooms we were running. But I still had a full complement of staff. And at one point, I was sending them home because we really didn't have the cases to sustain having everyone report to work. So one of the things we started doing as a leadership team is start thinking about what else can we do. Now, with the pandemic, there was a big focus on PPE. And in the OR, what do we do all day? We don and doff of of our gowns and gloves. So what we did was we had our staff, we developed a PPE coach team. And what we would do was we would go to the floors and we would actually teach and assist the nursing staff who don't do it every day, how to gown and glove properly, and how to remove the gown and gloves properly, and just to be there as a support person. And also, when it came to staff screening, we trained our staff how to do the screenings again so that we could find something for them to do so that they can earn a living and help support their family. So I think with the pandemic, just thinking outside the box, and we truly came from behind those double doors. We always talk about the OR, what do they do behind the double doors? And we were able to show, other areas in the hospital what we do in the OR and we do as a team.
That's amazing. That's great to support the nurses that had to take care of COVID patients. I never thought about that, but yeah, I mean, OR nurses are used to being covered up.
Absolutely. You are absolutely right. You're absolutely right. So it
um,
was good. Mhm.
yeah. So, have you, in your career, have you ever experienced or witnessed discrimination, and how was it handled?
Oh, yeah. And I did. So when it was someone else, I went into more of a protective mode. I grew up in a household where there's 8 kids, six of them. I have six brothers. I had six brothers and a sister. And one of the things that we were taught to speak up for yourself. And if it was someone else, and I was very protective. I just remember watching a resident being mistreated. And I was like, if I stood there and didn't say anything, I felt guilty. And I did. I pulled the surgeon aside, and as a staff nurse, I pulled the surgeon aside and I said, I think your behavior is inappropriate. And then I reported him to his leader. And unfortunately, the medical student was upset because he felt as though that they would treat him differently. But I, my whole thing is, what could be worse than the way they're treating you now? So one of the things is just speaking up. And for myself, I'm going to be totally honest. I've been in situations where, I could have made ways. Just to give you an example, I was asked to be the interim nurse manager at a facility. And after a couple of months, my VP was like, "Oh, I'm going to leave her in the interim role. We're not going to put you in the." I said, "That's no problem." Now, all of my colleagues told me, "Oh, they're using you. Step down. You should quit. You should." And I said, "No." I said, "I want you to think about something. There's no one between me and the vice president. She has to rely on me to run this OR, which means I'm going to be introduced to situations and I am going to learn different skills. And I'm going to tell you, once you have that knowledge and once you have that experience, they can't take that away from you. They may be able to take a position or take a title, but the experience, they can't take that away from you." And it was pretty interesting because I ran into the CEO and they had given us these beautiful flowers for Nurses Week. And I thanked the CEO, and she didn't know who I was, and she asked my name and wanted to know what did I do, what was my position. And I told her, and she said, "Well, how long have you been in the interim role?" And when I told her, and she was like, "Who stays in an interim role that long?" And I just, I said, "I'm fine." I said, "When the time is right, I will either be given the position or I will move on." And it was pretty interesting. Not long after that, I was offered the position. And sometimes you it you know, I tell you, my journey has I've had some rough roads, but I'm going to tell you, I wouldn't trade any of it because it has made it has helped me grow and has made me a stronger person. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think what you said there might connect to a future question just about sometimes you take positions to get that experience, not necessarily the title, or you don't get caught up in like, oh, I don't have this title, but you get that experience and that will take you higher in the future, possibly. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Um, so, uh, how can like staff, executive search firms like us, talent acquisition professionals, how can they promote and encourage diversity inclusion in OR from your perspective?
So, one of the things that I like to do when I am interviewing or recruiting someone, I try to have a balanced team, which includes people of color, as as well as my Caucasian staff. I want people to see that that we are diverse, and in the OR here, my senior director, the manager, my educator, the manager at SPD. They're all people of color, people of color. So I make sure that there's at least two or three of us on these interviews so that they could see that coming in, especially if it's for a leadership position, that you know what, you do have people like us in this role and that you will be supported in this role. And we just have to show that diversity as we are interviewing people, just to say that we are out here and we are here to support you. I have had one nurse, actually I thought she was going to break down and cry because at the time it was my senior director, I was the manager and the educator. We were all on the call at one time, and she said, I've never seen this." She said, "Out of all the places that I have interviewed," she said, "I haven't seen this. I haven't seen this many people of color in leadership roles." And I just think we just have to get to the point where we become more visible.
And be more intentional.
Be more
Hmm.
intentional. We have to be more intentional.
Hmm.
We have to be.
Um, so, what advice do you have for aspiring, perioperative BIPOC leaders? So, one of the things you suggested was, obviously being open to professional opportunities that may not look to your preference at the time. What other pieces of advice do you have for people that aspire to lead perioperative?
You know, first of all, you have to sometimes you have to be willing to accept new challenges. It may not be what you want to do at the time. You may be given tasks that you may feel as though that isn't right for you. But again, there's some good in every, in all in just about any situation, and you have to make the most of it. You also have to seek out other leaders, other people of color that are in leadership role. They don't have to be in your department, but you need to seek out other leaders just to bounce off ideas, just to talk to them about some of their experiences and find out the best way to handle certain challenges. Also, I do and I want constructive feedback. I do and I want, because I can't fix something that I don't know that I'm doing incorrectly or I could do better. And I need that feedback, and I really need to be open to that feedback. And I hope that anyone that they find as a mentor will help them once they develop new skills, help them utilize those skills or incorporate those skills into their practice. My whole thing is even with interviewing other people for different roles. Let them be part of that interview team. Talk about what you should be looking for and what to expect. But as you develop new skills and new talents, just having the opportunity to utilize them. And even if you don't utilize them in your department, if I'm interviewing somebody, I can interview someone for the ICU. I have staff nurses there who can focus on the technical skills. And if I'm interviewing a leader, I'm looking at the leadership skills. So if I find someone who's a person of color and they are in a leadership role and they're interviewing leaders in their department, let me be part of that so that I can know what to look for. So when I get in that position, I can do the same thing when I'm interviewing people in my area.
And did you have any mentors that helped you at different points in your career?
You know what? I did.
Mhm.
And I'm going to tell you, not all of them were people of color. I had, some unintentionally sort of mentor. It was pretty interesting. She was the director of education, and I was an educator at the time. And she was like, Jackie, we really need to go back to school for our master's degree. And I was like, absolutely not. I have my bachelor's degree. I'm happy where I am. And it was like a daily thing. She was like, let's just take one class together. And if we don't like it, you know what? Hospital is paying for it. You don't have to, and then you don't have to take another one if this isn't what you want to do. And it was a daily thing. And she would walk by my, office and she would just say, Masters of Science in Nursing. And it was so interesting. So we did take a class together and it wasn't bad because when I went to school the first time, I went to school because I needed to find a decent job when I was done. This time I was going for myself. And even though she was sort of pushing me along, but you know what? I did. So the interesting thing is we took one class together and then she dropped out. She was like, you know what? I don't want to do this right now. But then my parents found out I was going to school for my master's degree. I had no choice. I couldn't drop it. I couldn't
Oh
drop
my
out if
gosh.
I wanted to. But you know something? Because I was doing it for myself, I truly enjoyed it. I truly enjoyed it. And even in school, I ran into some issues. They had already picked the person who was going to be the valedictorian, but they didn't realize I had straight A's. And the one person that they had picked, I think she had a B, but but I had taken one class, and the person which I felt was unfair, she gave me a B in a class because I felt as though I earned an A. And I was ready to argue and go to whomever I needed to fight this. And my mother said, you know something, you could put all that energy into fighting this. Or with that one being, you're still going to have your master's degree. And she said, pick your battles. Just pick your battles. She said, and that's what I did. I picked my battles, even though I wasn't happy about it. And sometimes I wished I had taken on that fight, but I've learned to move past it and I just became a better person. And what I have done was when someone else comes to me and they feel as though they have been mistreated, I try to channel that energy into helping them because I don't want them to feel the way I felt when I didn't get the grades I felt as though I deserved. Still bothers me sometimes, but
I can imagine
mhm,
because you feel like I'm right. I deserve this. But yeah, that was
yes,
good advice from your mom though. You can't always
yes,
go after like everything you feel
absolutely.
like you deserve, especially when it
Yes,
won't change the fact that you're
yes.
getting your master's.
Because she told me, she said you will stop growing because you're focused on that one thing. And
Mm-hmm.
she said, and you know, when you go after something, you put your all into it. And she said, put your all into something that's positive and something that is going to help you or better you. And that's what I did. That's what I
Mm-hmm.
did.
What are three key areas you think a mentor should cover with their mentee?
First of all, they should set expectations. So if you're going to be my mentor and and you're going to mentor, and I'm your mentee, you know, have that open communication and set expectations so that each person knows what they expect from each other. Um, I just exposure. And even if I can't introduce you to something, then as a mentor, I would like to have the resources where I could reach out to someone else and just to say, I need someone to be part of this committee or to be part of this group. I need you to help me to make sure that they get that exposure. And the other, I tell you, just trust and truthfulness. That sense of trust have to be. I need to feel safe. I need to be able to talk to you about something or some concerns that I have and feel somewhat protected as my mentor. And feel safe enough to be able to say, or safe enough to be able to face new challenges, because I know I have someone that if if I fail or if things don't go as planned, I have someone there who's going to help pick me up, dust me off, and send me on my way again.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. We are experiencing a lot of friction in our country um, with what's last 4 years for all kinds of reasons.
Yes.
And it's not just relegated to politics anymore, it's bled into the workplace. What are your thoughts on how people can kind of navigate the stickiness at work with all that's going on?
So, one of the things that I tell my kids, never give your power away. So, there have been situations where people have said things that they should not have said. I feel as though now there's this freedom to say and do whatever you want to, or whatever people want to do, regardless of how negative it is. And it's supposed to be okay. It's not okay. It's not okay. And I feel as though, first of all, I'm not going to let you take me out of my, uh, again, I'm not going to, like Michelle Obama, said, when they go low, we go high. I try not to lower my standards, and lower myself to their level. But the other thing is, I have learned I will speak up for myself, because if you felt comfortable enough to say something or to do something like that to me, I need you to feel I need you to feel uncomfortable to the point, because you know that I'm going to say something and I'm going to tell you how I feel. It's not okay. It's not okay to be treated in a disrespectful manner. And anyone who does that to me, they need to get that message.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Um, Nursing shortage. What are your thoughts on how the industry can shore up the pipeline for nurses? We've been dealing with this obviously for quite a while now, and COVID made it worse. So
Yes.
we gotta somebody's gotta tackle
Uh,
this. We gotta take care of it. So what are your thoughts on that?
oh, I am just living through that pain right now. Because of the fact that, with OR nurses, we're specialized. We're so specialized. And basically, when we post the position, I have a lot of new nurses applying with absolutely no experience whatsoever. And for the most part, it takes about a good 6 months to orient someone with no experience to the OR. And then it still takes about a good year for that person to feel comfortable. And because we weren't getting any experienced nurses, what we have decided to do is start our own peri-op program here, and we're growing our own. We are actually, bringing in nurses with no experience, or or nurses with experience on the on different units, and we're actually teaching them and orienting them to work in the operating room. So that is one of the things that we're doing. We have to grow our own.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Mhm.
It's kind of amazing to me that there's no like peri-op track in nursing school. I just learned that when I started working at Whitman. It was news to me.
Yes, but the other thing that we're doing is our the person who is overseeing this program, she is reaching out to the schools, and very similar to something that to what I went through, giving them the opportunity that last semester to spend some time in the OR so you can actually see what we do. So that's one way of how we're trying to grow our own, and we're trying to reach them at the school level. While they're in school before they graduate, and the ones that have already graduated, we have a peri-op program so that we can actually encourage them to come into the OR, and we have, again, through the schools and through the different brochures that we have and on LinkedIn, we try to reach out to them and have them come for a shadow day because a lot of times they don't get them in school. So we try to bring them in for a shadow day so that they can actually see what we do in the OR.
Yeah, because I imagine some people may not even know they would be interested until they see it in front of them.
Absolutely. You are absolutely right. Absolutely right.
So that was our final question actually. Thank you so much for joining us. It was like great to meet you. I'm so happy that Edna Gilliam nominated you.
Thank
I
you.
love this process of meeting uh, new people and expanding our network.
Yes, thank you. I truly enjoyed this. Thank you so much.